I was watching Mitten Squad playing Fallout 3 with only a Chinese pistol, and honestly it seemed like such an awful and annoying weapon to use. The bullets just seemed like little orphan fists, falling flat and being ultimately ineffective against their new alcoholic father. So I had to ask, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only a Chinese pistol? Technically no, the weapon does not exist within the base game of Fallout New Vegas, but we're not cavemen, we have the technology. So I downloaded A Tale of Two Wastelands, an amazing mod that combines Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas into one game where the player can switch between the two. We begin our adventure unlike our previous ones. I get isekai'd into Rivet City. I gave myself the name that I thought everyone would like. Witnessed the death of my birth giver, and Dad had to come to terms with the fact that he couldn't save his wife, foreshadowing his inability to save anyone. Maybe if he was a better doctor or a better person, but may his guilt eat him alive and drown him in his sorrows. By the time I could walk, he was already abandoning me. I don't think he ends up leaving the vault to save the wasteland. I think he just decided it was finally time to get some milk and cigarettes. As I grew up, I noticed The Tale of Two Wastelands includes additional NPCs in the vault. Honestly, it was pretty cool. I always found it weird how empty Vault 101 felt during the kid stage. Like, this is the time in your life where you're forced to go out to other kids' birthday parties, so that way you socialize and don't end up an unempathetic sociopath. I would know. I didn't get invited to those kind of things. Experiencing growing pains, I contemplated beating the shit out of Butch as a coping mechanism, but realized that would invalidate the challenge. I convinced my teacher to let me cheat on the SATs and spec'd my skills with the intention of using a gun and having speech as a fallback and experience farm. Years later, my suspicion was confirmed. Dad went to get the milk and he wasn't coming back. I rushed through the vault to escape, but made a detour to convince Butch to save his mother. If I'm honest, I wanted to see if the rad roaches would kill him. It was disappointing, but I did get dripped out. I shared some kind words with the overseer, got chased by mall cops, and mad dashed out of the vault. My current objective is to find a Chinese pistol. It's a pretty common gun among NPCs and can be bought from vendors. I think because this is a mod that merges the two games, it made the stores a little less than reliable. Finding this common gun became such a headache. I'd wait for Mora to restock, but that was unfruitful. Eventually I decided to leave Megaton. I believe there's a Chinese pistol in the Republic of Dave, so I began my journey once more. I got chased by a feral dog, but that seemed preferable to getting chased by two giant mole rats. Some raiders also joined in on the chase, but luckily Dogmeat was around to take care of these fools. Even luckier, one of the raiders had the Chinese pistol. Unfortunately, I had been stocking up on 10mm ammo, because that's what the ammo type is in Fallout 3. But in Tale of Two Wastelands, the gun shoots 9mm. So I had to sell hundreds of bullets and hope I could replenish my munitions, which I did. Here I did something controversial. I used console commands to get to New Vegas instead of playing through the mod and getting to the Mojave as intended. If in future videos you'd prefer I go about it the intended way without the console command, feel free to leave a comment. I'm not against it, I just figured I'd save myself a little time since I got the goods. Now in the Mojave, I shot some bottles with sunny smiles, taught Joe Cobb the meaning of pain with a slow death using roughly 30 bullets. Yes, this gun is not good, and I love it. Next, I visited everyone's least favorite beetle and began his quest. Convincing Sonny and Trudy to join the cause was easy, but I proved myself a fool by trying to talk to Doc Mitchell. By starting the game in Fallout 3, I awakened an ancient evil in him, and by that I of course mean the opening sequence tries to play when I enter his home. I tried to assassinate him, but he proved too strong. I also forgot to save, so I ignored Goodsprings for now. I made my way to New Vegas from Black Mountain and chomped at Mick and Rouse to get some more 9mm. A local tried to jump me, so I gave him the slowest and most anxiety-inducing chase of his life. I tested out my sneak skill against one of the kings in an attempt to see if crits would be viable. They would be. I didn't want to use the monorail this playthrough, so instead I went to the kings. I didn't have the caps or speech per pacer to let me in, so instead I got a haircut. By that I mean I assaulted a barber, took a little off the top, and borrowed his keys as payment for my service. The king gave me caps to hire Oris. He wanted me to figure out if he was legit or not. So I took those caps and immediately hit the tables. I lost everything. Unable to pay Oris, I decided to try my hand at an honest job. The Van Grapps hired me as a guard, but my coworker didn't take to me very well. He decided he was too good for me and refused to give me my work uniform. I now had a debt to the king, a debt no honest man could pay. In desperation, I decided to quickly kill Oris. It took around 60 shots. But that's including ones I missed from hip firing. Either way, this gun needs a lot of bullets to kill a big metal man. Next, the king needed me to go investigate the local ongoings. Long story short, the NCR is stepping up on the wrong turf and I gotta stop them. I took some standardized tests, infiltrated the soup kitchen, although after losing my job I suppose that wasn't really infiltrating. And I found out the nefarious NCR was trying to feed the homeless. Absolutely disgusted with this information, I ran back to the king, ready to tattle on them. But then we found out Pacer was in a firefight, and I had to stop them. Fully equipped with my bootleg big iron, I approached a Pacer and found myself in a dilemma. This barter option suggests I could get paid some good money if I make the check. 2,000 caps is enough to get past the credit check and onto the strip. I decided Pacer could wait. I returned to Goodsprings and completed their quest in an attempt to get the barter skill I needed. That wasn't enough, so I played courier for Alice and went to resolve the Prim situation. None of these quests offered the experience I needed to level up, so I, in my genius, ended up doing an unmarked quest which I don't think gave me any experience, but it did give me an NCR disguise. My mission? Retrieving this grieving wife's deceased husband from enemy territory. This quest doesn't give me experience, so I took her husband's strip as payment. Private Kowalski would be having a heyday if he found out. It was here that a new dilemma was made. I had to throw away my plans of not taking the monorail, but it was a necessary evil. I could instantly level up by finding Benny, granting me the barter skill I need for the check, and getting the money I needed for the credit check so I can get onto the strip. The math is definitely there, you just have to take 5 shots and wear a blindfold to see it. I proceeded to gamble, killed Benny and ran out of the tops. Volpez was dispatched and I told Mr. House I wanted a bonus. After the gambling and payment from Robocop, I should have more than enough for the credit check. So I decided to go back to Pacer and use my barter skill to make enough money to be able to pass the credit check. Pacer ended up paying me 150 caps, which is in fact not enough for the credit check. I was duped, but I'm a man of my word. I saved him from the NCR. It's a good thing I had a contingency plan and had enough money to pass the credit check. After concluding the King's quest, I traveled to Cottonwood Cove, and that's where things got interesting. I was dead set on killing Caesar in his camp with this awful gun. For practice, I fought in the Legion's arena. Obviously I cheated. Not cheated in terms of the challenge, but in that I shot my opponents in what was meant to be a melee battle. My plan to kill Caesar was originally to see if I could glitch myself through the tents, or maybe force myself onto a box he couldn't reach, but invisible walls cucked me. The best way to accomplish my task was to steal an item, forcing Caesar to get up from his throne, and I would be standing on a table. I know what you're thinking. Fella, why are you on the table? That's unsanitary. Well, I need a place where the dogs can't bite me. By shooting the dog, it will trigger everyone to become instantly hostile towards me. My intention is to have the dog act as a barrier of sorts. By stealing the item, Caesar would be the first in line to his own death. I tried this a few times and it wasn't really panning out, but eventually we got him. However, it was too risky to try and loot him. I didn't really want anything he had though. Can't help but imagine everything he owns smells like old man, or being part of the Legion, it probably reeks of incel. Escaping the camp was a bit of a task. Originally, I just tried to raw dog it and rush to the exit, but to no avail. The working tactic was taking my pea shooter and either crippling their legs or disarming enemies. Honestly, this makes me want to do a pacifist run in New California where I only shoot people's weapons. I think that'd be a fun time. At Cottonwood Cove, I was chased into the ocean by 2 legionaries, but I think by the end of our chase, we had developed a mutual respect of sorts, or maybe they needed air, I'm not entirely sure. I returned to Freeside. Before I even got the chance, there was a thug already fleeing from me. This hurt my feelings. I hadn't given him a reason to be afraid of me, but by God, I was gonna give him one now. I returned to my coworker and gave him a piece of my mind, but out of respect, I donned his armor. Now decently equipped, I decided to go kill a crippled old man and make nice with a robot. At this point of the game, we make introductions with the tribes of New Vegas, so I gifted them with bullets. I know, my kindness knows no bounds. There's something so entertaining about fighting a man fully clad in power armor, and I'm just here with my tiny gun, shooting his equipment and making him pick it up again. I'd like to think I was his own personal hell. At this point in my playthrough, I decided it was time to get into hard drugs. I say for abusing fats, but maybe escapism is just my strong suit. I finished up the Tribes of New Vegas arc by introducing Marjorie to my overseas special. I returned to the Lucky 38 and witnessed Yes Man wearing the pseudo skin of a dead man. All that was left now was to take after our robotic friend. I once again wore the dead soldier's uniform and infiltrated the El Dorado substation. Finally, the Battle of Hoover Dam would commence. I stocked up on ammunition and meds, said goodbye to my beloved Yes Man, and headed off to war. The battle itself was relatively easy. I mainly let the other factions fight amongst themselves, but I had to kill every single one of Caesar's legion to help my Securitrons progress. Some of them proved to be difficult, but I used the Ramos method, and kept shooting their weapons out of their hands, and sometimes threw them off the dam. These two Centurions in particular had heart. No matter how much I knocked their weapons down, they'd pick them up. They wouldn't take defeat, and I respected that, so I implored them to take these bullets. It's with regret that I say it wasn't consensual, but then again, murder rarely is. Pushing forward, I made to the Legate's camp, and decided to make use of the Chinese stealth armor I had found in the dam, and began executing as many men as I could. The fight with Lanius was a long and disappointing one. My first strategy was to attempt to sneak attack his aides, but that fell flat. Next was trying to bait Lanius to use his grenades. He uses both incendiaries and frag grenades. By shooting them while they're in his hand, I can cause them to explode prematurely. This is no challenge for me at all. I'm a master at premature detonation. Originally, this seemed to work decently well. I was even able to trick his goons into taking some of the damage, but ultimately this didn't work. Because I didn't kill the Legate, more and more Legion kept spawning into existence, to the point that I couldn't keep up. Facing him head on didn't work either, so I had a dilemma. Do I reload the game to before the battle and stock up on an insane amount of stim packs? No, I'm not doing that. I need to begin recording for Fallout New Vegas with only a Mesmetron, because that's going to be a long video. Instead, I opted to be a cheeky bastard. I used console commands to lower my gun skill and increase my barter skill accordingly. I decided to also lower my endurance and agility. I know this makes little difference when confronting Oliver, but I'll accept this as a loss on the challenge, due to my lack of foresight. And with that, I personally did not beat Fallout New Vegas with only a Chinese pistol. But then again, maybe the real Chinese pistol was the friends we made along the way. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Liking also goes a long way to help support the channel. I hope you have a wonderful day.